Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan Torah. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel and to all the people through Yeshua the Messiah, Lord. Amen. Alright, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to put on some lights. Alright, I want you to open up to Deuteronomy. And that's with some cobwebs, right? It's been a while. Alright, this is my verse. Okay, Deuteronomy 14. 14. Alright. So, if you remember correctly, or if you remember that ball, yeah. Alright, we discussed, last time this was discussed was pre-Israel. And then everything just kind of went wonky. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. I'm going to read through 14, just remind you a little bit about maybe one or two things that were discussed. Regan did the whole unclean, clean thing with New Testament references some many miles, months ago, feels like. So if you have any questions, just shout, but I want to get into, we're going to sit a little bit, kind of go halfway through 14 and then we're going to go into 15. Right. So, 14 verse 1. You are the people of Adonai your God. Statement. I need you just to let that sink in. When God gives his Torah, when God gives his instruction, he's defining who you are. Defining who you are to him. Okay, remember we spoke last week about getting out of your Mitzrayim, getting out of bondage. Letting go of your past, letting God absorb all of that image of Mara, because our identity gets stuck in places. We get stuck in our past, we get stuck in our hurts, we get stuck in all of those things, and we become mean, we become judgmental, and we never look forward. So we end up worrying more about Pharaoh behind us when we're crossing the sea, or we worry about, or long for, should I say, we long for where we were because your hurts have defined you. You become like Lot's wife looking back to Sodom. Even though you knew it wasn't a great place to be, you long for your life because you have built up your identity so much with your hurts that you don't know who you are without them. Problem. Those hurts that you have, that you carry, becomes your reality, becomes your identity, and therefore you never move past the wilderness phase. You never make it through to the promised land because you're so angry and so bitter and so hurt and judgmental that all you can see is hurt. All you can see is pain. And if you've had to deal with it like that because that is your past, therefore everybody else has been pushed in that category. God takes you out of Egypt. He moved you away. And let me just remind you again. It feels like a really long time ago. And remember, I made you close your eyes and I made you remember the hurts. I made you remember that past just for a second. And then when you opened up your eyes, you realized you were nowhere near there. I need you to look at where you are now and not worry about where you came from. God redeemed the nation. He freed them out of love. He heard their cries, just like He heard yours. And He pulled you out of your bondage and He brought you to Him. So that He could teach you, so that He could love you, so that He could train you. But you will never be open for that until you let go of your hurt. And He does that as Renee pointed out for us last week, because of His love. If you get stuck and you find yourself being judgmental and angry and hard, it is normally because you have not let go. You are so busy acting like Egypt that you've forgotten to look at the God who's staying with you when you're not in Egypt anymore. Okay? He brought you out here and he gives you the statement. You are the people of Adonai, your God. When you are defined by some demographic, you are male, female, you are South African, you are from the East Rand, you are a high income earner, low income earner, blah blah blah, fish paste, and yet they all fail to point out the obvious. I died to give you life. You belong to me. I have redeemed you. Let me remind you again, the hard part was not getting you out of Egypt. The hard part is getting Egypt out of you. Don't bring your Egyptian problems, all your anger, all your hurt, all your pain. Don't bring that stuff with you. God said, I freed you from it. Why do you want to carry it? I want to wash away your past. Did you not see Pharaoh and them drowned in the water? So that you can be my people. I am your God. And because of those images, because of those things, he gives you a list of things, continues to give you a list of things that shows you how you should act. And again, when you look at Torah, you need to be able to go and do some studies. We were having a discussion on Wednesday. Said, you know, when you look at Torah and you look at these instructions, God's giving you a list of do's and don'ts, right? In many instances, we sometimes forget about the heart of it. Why would a loving Father do this? Why would a loving God do this and teach us this way? But each of these instructions is to prevent you from acting like the pagan nations that he's kicking out. Okay? So when you go do a little bit of a study, you go look at what the Philistines acted, the Philistines, you go look at what the Canaanites were doing. Go and study up on this Egyptian mentality, and then you can start to see how God, who takes a nation who's been Egyptized, just like you belong to the world at one point, but willing that those chains break, and you come out, and then he goes, all right, I need you to stop thinking like the world. What do I do, Lord? I need you to act this way. Instead of being angry and wanting to beat people, you're going to have to love them. So says your Messiah. But how do you love them? Follow my example. Teach them. Love them. You know, today I was reading my portion just before I came up here. And two words jumped out for me. It's stories that I'm well familiar with. So I have to stop myself from filling in the blanks and paraphrasing the story and actually reading it word for word. But two words jumped out in this one chapter. Compassion. He said it twice. And God saw compassion. Messiah saw them and he had compassion. When God was looking at them in Egypt, he had compassion. When he brought them out and he taught them painstakingly, even though they grumbled and they stomped their feet and they were angry and they wanted to go back, he still had compassion. Slow to anger, full of grace. What does it mean to have compassion?
I think it's a lot of things.
Try.
Long-suffering.
Long-suffering.
Patience.
Patience.
Slow to anger as well. Slow to anger.
Slow to anger.
A soft heart.
Soft heart. Okay, let's do it this way. You're standing and you're looking at a person or a people, and you are feeling compassionate to them. How are you going to play that out?
Be merciful.
Okay, so if they're mucking up, don't beat them. Help them. No. Does help them just mean pick them up and allow them to do whatever they want?
No, just teach.
Teach them. Correct them.
Make that intercede.
Intercede for them.
Lead them, show them the right way. Don't just say and then don't do the same.
Lead them. Very important. Parental units. Friends. Family. There are people watching you. If you didn't realize it, your children, they are mimicking you. If you don't like their behavior, look in the mirror. Oh. We just dropped a bombing up in here. Listen to me. You guys get into this place where we go, oh, yeah, no, but they did, and then you go and do exactly what they did, but in a grown-up situation, and then you justify it. It's not on. If you cannot teach them their faults, you know what I find when you learn, what you learn most about teaching, when you go through this teaching process? You grow more than the person you're teaching. If you want to grow, teach.
Yes. Amen.
You don't have to teach 50 people, you don't have to teach 10. You can teach your family, you can teach your friends. And if you are not open to correction, how dare you challenge me? This is not Sparta. I'm not about to get them into a pit and say, no, that's not correct, I don't like your interpretation. You need to be able to back your stuff up. You need to be able to go, this is why I believe this. Just like I have to be able to say, Vince, I think you're talking rubbish, where does it say that? Or look at the next verse. Let me explain it to you in context, so that you might be able to understand what I'm talking about. If they cannot come to you, we have a problem. You do not have compassion. You are not merciful. You are not loving. And again, let me allude this to what we discussed last week. That's because you are so busy in Egypt that you forget you're not there anymore. I need you to let go. Children, don't use this as an excuse to try and beat up your parents because you want to say, oh no, but you did that. Sometimes we do really, really silly things at one time or another, but Baruch Hashem, we've seen the light and we change. Every one of us is a work in progress. And being compassionate is about being patient as well, like you guys have said. I need to build you, I need to correct you, I need to love you. If I ran around beating everybody every time you got an answer wrong, I would not have fellowship, yes? Unless you like being beaten. Then we have another problem. You guys need to slowly and surely check yourself. Because what you're showing them, what you're acting out, is your identity. It's not easy. And we have a whole bunch of crazy pressures and all the rest of it around us, and we struggle from time to time. But don't let that be your crux as if not to try. If you're having a bad day and you need to deal with a person, just say, please give me 5 minutes, I have to go climb in my closet, I have to go spend time with God so I can kind of act like it. If they cannot wait 5 minutes, send them to someone who's ready, who's there, who's in the Word, who's at that point. But compassion. Compassion for a nation who does nothing to deserve it. And he pulls them out and he brings them and he puts them into a place and then he says, this is who you are to me. This is how much I love you. And this is what I'm going to make you. My people, because I am your God. Bottom line. Okay? You are not to gash yourselves or shave your hair above your foreheads in mourning for the dead, pagan practice. Because you are people set apart as holy for Adonai your God. Don't act like they do. Adonai your God has chosen you to be His own unique treasure out of all the peoples on the face of the earth. You were not a mistake. You were a choice. Out of all the peoples, He chose you to be part of His nation. By saying, yes, please, I am that, means we have to act like it, or at least want it. You are not to eat anything disgusting. What do you guys have as your translation? Abominable, detestable. It's a pretty strong word. And it happens ever so often in Torah. But normally when God uses something this strongly, he means what he's saying. Okay? It's not a, maybe if you don't want to, ... Notice he said in the line before, you are holy. You know, we see this thing run through the entire form of Leviticus. Be holy for I am holy. And we're like, yes, we're holy. And then we choose not to be. Holiness is a choice. Listen to me. You get people who will say that you are set apart because of the blood of Christ. Half correct. You still have to choose to accept that. You still have to act it out. Be holy for I am holy. Where's it said? You need to stick out. Be holy for I am holy. Eat a certain way. Be holy for I am holy. Act a certain way. It is about who you are, your identity in Him. Because He is your God. And by the way, there are some things that are just really not good for you. In more than one way, shape or form. These animals which are not eat, the animals which you may eat are ox, sheep, goat, deer, gazelle, roebuck, ibex, antelope, oryx, and mountain sheep. Any animal with a separate hoof that is completely divided and it chews the cud. These that you may eat. But you are not to eat those who chew the cud or only chew the cud or have a divided hoof. For example, the camel, the hare, the coney are unclean for you because they chew the cud but they don't have a separate hoof. While the pig is unclean for you because although it has a separated hoof, it doesn't chew the cud. You are not to eat meat from those or touch their carcasses.
Sorry, I saw this last night.
Yeah.
He goes on verse 4, 5, verse 4 and 5, he puts everything together.
Yes.
Verse 6, he puts the camel, the hare, the rabbit,
Yes.
and all of those together. And then he specifically makes pig on its own. Specifically makes some statements on its own.
He's making 2 points here. Okay. Number 1 is you will get animals that chew the cud, but they have paws. Right? And then he goes, but don't think just because it has a split hoof, you haven't taken the time to notice whether it chews the cud or not. So what is he saying? Don't have one without the other. You have to put the 2 together. Yes, sir.
In Genesis, like chapter 7, doesn't Deuteronomy link up to Deuteronomy chapter 14 link up to Genesis chapter 7?
Read Genesis chapter 7 for me. Tell me what it says.
Where God also tells Noah.
I think Jesus says where it's not what you eat that makes you unclean, but it's what's in your heart that makes you unclean. Is that not?
No, Genesis. But we will get to that version very quickly. I will touch on it. Alright? Genesis chapter 7 is you're talking about Noah.
Yeah.
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 What does it say there? Does it say that therefore I have given you all animals to eat all flesh to eat of the earth? Is that the verse you're referring
It
to?
says God gave specific instructions to Moses or even Abraham, where God instructed Noah to take 1 pair of animals aboard the ark, but 7 pairs of unclean animals. The ark, but 7 pairs of unclean animals. God tried to teach Noah to carry this out law over into the parts of the world.
Okay, it was 2 pairs of it was a pair of unclean and 7 pairs of clean. It's the other way around. Okay? So we notice when they come off the ark, if Noah thought it was acceptable to offer up a pig as a sacrifice, he would have killed off the species, right? Because there would only be 2. Alright? Yeah, pig is sacrificed upon, then there's only 1. No more pigs there. Right? He does make a distinction in Genesis. When you look at the Noah story, we get told in Sunday school and churches that they all went in 2 by 2, and all the animals of the earth. Read the story. There's a separate count. There's unclean and there is clean, and he makes sure that there are, you could say 7 pairs of clean animals that go. And then he says you can eat. Alright? But we've also got to be very careful. I heard this, there was a very funny thing. It says, all the flesh of the earth you may eat. I did not see anybody try to eat a person. But that is flesh, is it not? It's the same word, basar. Okay? He's already defined it, he's put it into place. Okay? Yes.
I just found this, it says kosher and unkosher species. In differentiating between clean and unclean species, we must examine 3 separate groups: species that live on the land, species that live in the water, and winged species. And it actually puts everything out so nicely, like you said, to put those two together. Even the eggs of the animals you eat can be clean or unclean.
You've got to be very careful, guys. There is a list that God gives us as a guideline, okay? To refer to what you were saying, I think was, Yeshua said he was having a discussion with the guys about washing the hands. Right. So the Pharisees taught that if my hands were not clean, washed 3 times, then anything I touch would be considered unclean, ritually, not biblically. Okay? And then we have this lovely little brackets or a slight italics. In that thing, go and check me. Or a little asterisk. Afterwards it says, thus Yeshua declared all things clean. Go and check in your Bible. They will make that note. That is a later addition. That is someone else's interpretation of what they were talking about. But that was not what he was talking about. He was talking about washing of the hands. Okay? It says, don't come here with your Pharisaic tradition that is going to try and nullify what God has said. Okay? We need to check the context of what was going on.
But also, they weren't even eating meat, it was grain.
Yes. Yeah, they were plucking heads of grain, so it had nothing to do with any sort of animal. Okay? Are you all more or less on that? Okay? Come to us afterwards if you don't know what we're talking about. Alright. So then it goes on and it says, in the water, anything that has what? Scales and fins. So therefore, sharks have fins, scales. So you have to double check it again. Okay? The winged, birds. Basically, eagles, vultures, ospreys, kites.
Calamari.
Calamari is not a bird. Okay?
I was still on the fish.
You were still on the fish.
I was taking a moment to process.
Alright, in my translation, if you look at verse 15, it will mention ostrich. Okay? That is a maybe. Alright, some rabbis will say, no, don't be ridiculous. If you look at the classification that God gave us, it's all birds of prey. Okay, they eat meat. But ostrich gets thrown in there, and there is not enough evidence for me, you can go and do some research on this please, to say whether it is or whether it's not. It is a vowel differentiation. Okay, you know what I mean? Alright, in Hebrew there are no vowels, right?
Yes.
Alright, so let me give you a very silly example. You see 2 letters, 2 bets. Okay? In the text, it will look something like that. Okay? Now, if we know that there's a spacing in here, what they normally do is they try and help you sound it out. So when you read it, they will do something like this if they want to put in a vowel to help you with your pronunciation. That's an ah sound. So that would be bad. But if you don't have that, it could also be a e sound. So it could be beb. Now the difference between bab and beb is the difference between ostrich and something else. The problem is, in Torah you don't have that. So now you have problems about, okay, let's try and figure out what this actually is. So when they've gone and they've looked at this and they've studied this, they're not 100% sure, so I stay away from ostrich. Okay, it's very simple. Alright? If we do not know 100% sure, I'm not going to take the chance of eating something unclean because I might think that it might be or it might not be. Yes, sir.
The King Jimmy says that owl.
Yeah, I think it's some sort of, if I remember correctly, it was like King Owl or something like that. Something along those lines.
Or it says big and small. So
Yeah, so look, it's just something that it might be. It goes into, say, screech owls and things like that, and hawks and little owls, great and small as you go in. But there are certain aspects of it. So I'm going to point it out for you. If you want to go and do some research on that, please do. I invite you to it. Okay, verse 19. All winged, swarming creatures are unclean for you. They are not to be eaten, but all clean flying creatures you may eat. You are not to eat any animal that dies naturally, although you may let a stranger stay with you eat it, or sell it to a foreigner. Because they are not, listen to the point. The Jews have gone a little bit funny with this, okay? They will go, okay, get rid of the chametz and then you sell it to the goyim, because goyim don't understand any of this, and then we will get money for cleaning out our sin. And I'm like, you're missing the point. Okay? If you're a foreigner, they treat you as if you're completely confused. And unfortunately, it's gotten to the point where they don't want to teach you Torah because you're a goy, but they want you to take their stuff because you're a goy. That's not acceptable. God said you're a light unto the world. You are supposed to teach the people. Listen, this is why we're doing it. This is what's going on. But like I said to you with cleaning out the chametz, you know, when you're cleaning out your house and you're getting rid of all those products and those things over there, when someone who doesn't understand what you're doing, to them you're throwing away food. Okay? For them, this is the difference between me eating and not. And you say, I can't have it because you're concerned about your sin. Your pride. Okay? Me, I've got no problem with taking the stuff if you are not following in one way, shape or form or another, and I give you the last 3 slices of my bread that I've cleaned out of my house, I know you're fed. Okay?
Is it referring to bugs as well?
There are certain bugs, so the creeping, crawling ones and things like that, but if you want to look at the entire list, you don't clean it. But not all
Eating
ones.
bugs is becoming a big trend around the world
Yeah.
because the farming of them is easier and
Yeah.
cheaper and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's like, if you look at farming and stuff, that's the way a lot of places are going.
Yeah. No, look
So,
at
but
me.
now are they saying, for example, you can eat worms, but you can't eat like flies and cockroaches because they fill your water.
No, that's the thing. Anything that was crawling, if I remember correctly, anything that was crawling on the ground was not permitted for you. But I mean, there are certain types of locust and things like that that you can eat. If you remember John the Baptist and Elijah as well, I think it was basically a locust and honey diet, amongst other things. But yeah, there is a distinction between the two, and you have to look at it.
Probably also
Verse
look at the
19.
bug.
Verse 19 speaks about it.
But if you probably look at the bugs that you're not to eat are probably things that eat off other animals or feces and things like that. So one thing I wanted to note, you won't see any people arguing about, you know, we talk about clean and unclean. You talk about plants.
Yes.
You don't see people trying to like cook up poisonous plants and in Genesis it says all the green plants are for you to eat. But we don't have that argument.
No. Now look, it is funny, guys. It is funny, like we said before. You know, people get hung up on us, and I believe it's because today we really struggle with the idea of holiness. Okay, anything that sets you apart. Okay, people will argue with you, especially our brethren. They will argue with you about keeping Sabbath. They will argue with you about the feast days. They will argue with you about wearing tzitzit, and they will argue with you about eating kosher. Those are the big cruxes to them. They will keep everything else without battering an eyelid and saying, oh yeah, no, that's God. Mention this, and then they have a freak out. The problem is twofold. Okay, remember I told you guys before, God showed me that there's 3 stages there was 3 stages in my walk, 3 stages, I believe, in most people. So you come in, you're a believer. Then you choose to be a disciple, Talmid. And then you become a leader or a rabbi, whatever he calls you to be. And most people get stuck here. Okay? They believe God exists, everything is there, they go, yes please, that's what he is. And like I mentioned, I believe it was in Jude, it says, you know, even the demons and Satan knows God exists, but what's the difference between you and them? If you just believe that he's real and you do nothing, and that doesn't change anything in you, we have a problem. God never told you to make a whole bunch of believers, he told you to make a whole bunch of disciples. What's the difference between a believer and a disciple? Disciple follows. What Yeshua did, you do. He wore tzitzit, where are yours? He ate kosher, where are yours? He celebrated the feasts, do you? Those are the questions I had to ask myself. And when I read through the Gospels, trying to identify everything he did, he was in a synagogue on Shabbat. Welcome to Bible study. As was his custom, which is now my custom. Every Shabbat, we will sit and we will open up the Word and we will study it. So what he saw fit to do, who am I to say as a disciple saying, no, Rabbi, sorry, you are wrong. I don't have enough chutzpah for that because I want to be like him. Okay? And what this also does is when you eat kosher, does everybody know what the word kosher means, by the way? Proper. Okay? It talks more about the slaughter than it does just of the animal. How it is brought in, and that makes it an unkosher beef would be used because they don't know if it was killed in the right manner. Okay? Did the blood get drained out of it, etc., etc. So they look at two things, especially when it comes to meat. Okay? Let me put your minds at ease. The standards that we have biblically about letting the blood out and killing the animal quickly and normally slitting its throat helps with the bloodletting has become the worldwide standard. Go and do some studies. The only one that does not do that is the slaughter of a pig. They strangle them. Okay? That is the prescribed method, especially in the US. And if you notice when it talks about it in Acts 15, it says, and also what is considered unkosher, you will not eat anything that is strangled. Because you don't get the blood out. That congeals and it sits in the meat. And you eat that stuff and it's not good for you. It's not about out cooking it. Man has made fire for a long time. If God said, please leave for extra 10 minutes so that you don't die, that's what he would have said. But he said the meat itself is not good for you. Okay? Regan spoke a lot about this, I'm sure. But he talks about, he says, he goes in here, where's my point? Alright, believer told me, the reason they struggle with this is because they don't want to take on the yoke of being kadosh. When you become a Talmid and you put on tzitzit and you keep Sabbath, if you look at what it says in Scripture, you keep my Shabbatot, my Sabbaths, it will be a sign between you and me. It will be a sign on your forehead between you and me and the rest of the world. If you eat a certain way, it sets you apart. If you act a certain way, it sets you apart. You're wearing tzitzit. Sorry, you stick out like a sore thumb. Try and wear tefillin and walk around for a little bit with a big box on the forehead and on you kind of look a little bit strange. I'm not going to tell a lie. But you know immediately what that person is doing when they have tefillin on. Well, if you go to Israel and you see a guy, and this is one of the most beautiful images, it really touched my heart. You see this guy, IDF uniform, full gear, Orthodox poiky, enlists anyway. Climbs in, and he climbs into his jeep, and we leaving on our travels, and we're driving past there. This guy tells his troop, it's prayer time. They stop the van, they have a look out. You've got two other guys that are just kind of, and he's got his talit on, he's got his tefillin on, and he's facing Jerusalem, and he's praying. Full army kit. And he's like, no, patrol waits, go first. And he stands there and he prays and he says his prayers and he opens up and then he can pack away his stuff and he goes, all right guys, God's with us, let's move. It sets you apart immediately. It tells the world who you belong to. There's something weird about you. What's with the Saturday and kosher and this and that? Well, it's about God, isn't it? It's about me declaring, verse 1, you are the people of Adonai, your God. So I take on that yoke and I say, well, this is what pleases God and this is what will set me apart. But I also take on the blood of Messiah, which sets me apart, but it's a two-way street. Don't say you are set apart and you are holy, because in Leviticus there's this outline. There's a clear distinction between... Time and time again, it talks about what is unclean for you. How do I make something unclean? Or if it is unclean in its natural state that it is in now. Because remember, everything was perfect, we broke it. Now animals have got problems they never had before. The earth all of a sudden gave us thorns and things like that we never had before. Women go through childbirth in a very difficult way. That was not the plan. You know, it's always interesting to me, they said the closest a woman is to death is when she's bringing life. Remember what you brought in. You brought death into the world and God will bring life through that, right? So he comes in and he says, okay, if you have an unclean vessel, how do I make it clean? Well, you've got to wash it, and you've got to do this, X, Y, and Z. How do I make it holy? I set it apart. Okay, which means I anoint it. Right? I anoint this menorah and I only use it for God's purpose. That does not now mean that I can take what is holy and I can light it whenever I feel like it. It has that purpose. If I make the holy common, then we have a problem. Shabbat is only Shabbat if you keep it holy. You have that choice to make. Your Bible is holy, but you can make it common if you want to. So really nice paperweight or a dust collector if you let it. And if you really want to make it unclean, well, toilet paper is scarce these days. Are you starting to understand the difference? People use these things and then they say, oh yeah, no, but we're all holy. Then why do you act like you're unclean? Why do you act like you're common? God said, be holy for I am holy, and yet you will run around doing X, Y, and Z. Me, I don't have to list sins. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. And then you want to say you're holy? Is that what Yeshua said you are? So therefore you cannot defile yourself. If I had to take, let's not be too gross here, friends. This is a tough one. I really want you to get this point, but if I had to take doggy poop and rub it on your face, would you be considered clean?
No.
Not at all, but you're holy people. Oh, so you understand the difference between being dirty and not. But you will defile yourself by choosing things that God said will defile you, and you don't bat an eye. Remember, we need to take our minds off the physical problems here, and we need to look at the heavenly perspective. It is not about the way you see bacon, and it's the way God sees it. Okay?
Yeah, the studies and the research that show us with eating of bacon also it does something in the mind as well.
Besides the worms.
Sorry?
Besides the worms.
Yeah, besides the worms.
He's just reminding me of something I also found out. Food has two components. It has a spiritual component and it has a physical component.
Right.
The physical component gets eliminated by the body, and then the spiritual component goes into your blood, because the blood is also spiritual. The blood then pumps into your heart, and then it goes to your mind, and then you can't tell the difference between good and bad, which is why when you open the Bible to someone and you try and explain it, and it's in black and white, they can't understand it because of one of that being a component to them not understanding.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but I disagree. That sounds like a rabbinical study, doesn't it? Yeah, you studied the Midrash or something. Otherwise, vegetarians would be the holiest people in the world, bro.
No, I'm not saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not that physical, but that spiritual aspect is I can get closer to God by what I eat. Yes and no.
Yes, because
It defines who you are and what your choice is, absolutely. But it's not that your holiness gets flown through the blood into your brain.
No, I'm not saying that it makes you holy. I'm saying that your understanding, it tampers with your understanding of things.
You're saying, okay, so coming to the point of I'm making a choice of being kadosh, which opens up my mind to be able to understand the difference between clean and unclean and holy.
In a way.
Right, let's not go too far into this. All right. So God set you apart, and He says here, you are not to eat any animal that dies naturally, although you may let the strangers and the foreigners eat it. All right, they are out of covenant. All right, but there is a basic thing here, guys. People will argue about eating bacon, but I don't see anybody, dead cow lying on the side of the road and go, burgers! We don't know how long it's been dead for, but it still looks okay. Yeah, but what killed it? Oh, we don't know, but please eat it. No, I don't think it's safe. Well, it's funny you should say that, because there are a lot of things that are not considered safe. Okay, roadkill in Scripture is considered unclean. Alright? We don't know what has contaminated this animal, so rather stay away from it, even though you might see a quick, easy meal. Alright? You are not to boil a kid in its mother's milk. Is a Canaanite pagan practice. It was about fertility. Okay? Something that wasn't supposed to nourish the milk of the mommy goat is what was going to help it, grow it, give it all its nourishment, and get it to where it should be, but instead it's the very thing that kills it. If God is a God of life and He designed that milk to nourish the baby, why are you using it to destroy it?
Is this where the Jews get that portion where they do not put meat with dairy together?
Yes, very much. Very
And
much
what
so.
should we observe that? Because now I've stopped putting milk in my meat when I cook. because
May I
I'm thinking-
have a different interpretation of this, okay? When you look at, again, it's a vowel problem. There's three different things that you could look at, okay? The word chalav is milk. The word chalev is fat. Without those signs, you can't tell which one is which, number one, first problem. If you were literally just observing it, that means don't worry, every time you eat goat, make sure you don't boil it in milk. Because that's what it literally says. Okay, it doesn't talk anything, sorry, it doesn't talk anything about cows. It's possible. I'm not sure. It's possible. I don't know. Maybe, probably would have been tied up at best, but I don't know. I'm not sure. You'll have to check. I know, however, that this was a Canaanite practice because they found it in what they call the letters of Ugar, or the Ugaritic texts, which is, Ugar was a city. Okay, and they found stone tablets and documentation. And they said, part of the fertility practices, boiling a kid in its mother's milk. It wasn't a dietary restriction because of health, it was what they would do. Okay? One of my things is, if this is this is only get mentioned like 3 times in the entire Torah, and there's no explanation around it. Okay, we can understand, you know, don't cut yourselves and cut your hair in a certain way because they are pagan practices. The Jews have taken us to, this might be this, and that has become the standard. So some rabbi did not understand exactly what this meant, and I can promise you now, I can put you in directions of other rabbis who still don't know what this means. And one guy who read a commentary on it, and he was like, you know what guys, I studied this for 12 years, and you know what I think it says? Don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. Okay, we have made a midrash, a study on it, and we've drawn our own conclusions from it, and that's where they get it. But I want you to always examine Torah in its entirety. Okay, when Abraham met with God, what did he feed him? Fattened calf and cheese. So he put meat and dairy before God. I've heard a rabbinic interpretation that said, no, don't be ridiculous, he gave him the cheese first and then 3 hours later he gave him the calf. There is no contextual evidence to say that he was there for that amount of time. It said he fed him, they sat down, he washed his feet, and then he said, oh well, Sodom and Gomorrah is going to do this. Because remember, the rabbis teach you need at least an hour for your digestive process to work, because meat and dairy don't mix all that well. So if you eat steak, wait an hour before you have your chocolate. Okay? That is their interpretation. I disagree with it. I think they've taken something that was a distinct pagan practice, and now they've made it into Torah. That is not what it says. Okay? It doesn't say all meat is not to touch dairy. God is not without language. He is not without words. He is not... let me put it this way. If he wanted to say that keep meat and dairy separate, he would have said it just like that. But he mentions a pagan practice specifically, and we have backup to say that's exactly what they did. So he's telling you to not act like the nations.
Fish and chicken don't give more ghee.
Yeah, but yeah, it's true. They don't do that either.
So I mean,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, you will not find a chicken pizza anywhere in Israel.
No.
Okay, that's because it's meat and dairy. But that is not, again, basar, which means red meat, and you have off, which is chicken, or dog, which is fish. Now they classify all of it in the same way, although the fish, they'll let slide. But chicken, they won't.
So can I just draw a conclusion now?
I disagree.
Can I put mayonnaise in my meat?
I, for my part, am saying, I've done a study on this, and I disagree with that interpretation. Okay? I suggest you go and study and you go and research. Alright, look, I don't have a problem with me eating a cheeseburger, I really don't. Okay? But you know, I have been wrong before. So God might open my eyes up to this, but I know that contextually, Abraham, if God doesn't change, and Abraham gave God fattened calf and cheese, and he said, eat. If it was an affront to God, surely he would have said, you don't know Torah. You can make the argument that the rabbis do that says Torah was only given 400 years later, but then I take him back to Abraham and I say, all right, but why did God love Abraham? It says in Torah, he loved Abraham because he taught his household God's ways. So if Torah wasn't there, what was he teaching them? Okay? It was there. It was well known. They just needed it written down for them. God, well, Abraham sat down at his feet, really, so he would have told them. All right. Here we go. Verse 22. Almost 40 minutes to get to where we left off. Every year you must take a tenth or a tithe. Everything your seed produces in your field, and eat it in the presence of Adonai your God. In a place where he chooses to have his name you will eat the tenth of your grain, new wine and olive oil, and the firstborn of your cattle, your sheep, so that you will learn to fear Adonai your God always. First question, he's talking about tithing, right? You will take a portion of your field and you will go up to Jerusalem and you will eat it with him. How does that teach you to fear God?
If you're breaking bread with someone in the Middle Eastern custom,
That means everything's fine. I don't have to be scared of you.
but in order to do that, in order to take part in that sacrifice means that you have to fear him in some sense.
Why would you fear him? Why?
He's an awesome God.
Okay.
The only one that can really take life.
Okay. What's a good word look up?
It's a lot to do with respect.
It's about respect, but why?
As in, your original, you fear him because you respect.
So, if you don't take a tenth of everything you get and give it to your dad, you need to be worried.
He's given you,
Just asking a question.
he's given you so much. So to say thank you, and also to feed the Levites, and then because they weren't allowed to learn, just take care of them.
This is what they call this portion here is called the second tithe. It is not the only portion in Scripture talking about tithing. This is about coming up to Jerusalem and sitting at the feet and giving them a portion. If you had to break down the two tithes, you've got your first fruits, which you're giving anyway, right? And then you have every 10th animal that you have, 10th of your flock. And then now it's talking about firstborn. Now it's talking about wine. Now it's talking about the produce of your seed.
And oil.
Everything you do. So this is just not about the first of your crops. This is now a second tithe. So if you really want to get sneaky and you're basically looking at, for a farmer, because notice it doesn't really mention bring their millions, right? You actually have plus minus 20% of your salary. What? 10. God says, you will give me more. And everybody's wallets tighten very quickly. Right? I'm not after your money.
And suddenly I lost weight.
Yes. You're not as hungry as you thought. Okay? He's teaching you, again, if you remember Shema, I will bring you into this land. Hear and listen, O Israel, the Lord is God, the Lord is one. Right? If you observe my mitzvah, you will have received your early rains and your late rains. In a place where the difference between life and death is rain. Your floods, famine happens because God closes up the sky. Remember why you are here is what he's saying. I'm giving you this land. I will make it fruitful if you just be the light I need you to be. If you just stand up and you say, I don't like first. And you honor him in everything. You don't just go, hey, we have a really good God, he's awesome, yay. And you sing when you want to sing, and you pray when you feel like it, and you read your Bible every now and again. I cannot look at my crops and without knowing God has given it exactly the amount of rain, the exact amount of sunshine. He's given the soil the nutrients. and He's allowed this to grow so that I get food. This isn't, we've become detached. This is not, oh no, we've run out of bread, let's go to Woolworths. If you get your barley harvest in, you take it, you store it, and that sees you through to next year's barley harvest. Wheat. Animals and poor man's bread. Wheat is the bread. Then you get your pomegranates, you get your olive oils, you get your grapes. He says when it's all said and done, that's why the festival of Sukkot, Tabernacles is such a big thing, because most of the harvest has already come in through the year. And I can celebrate, I can look that God has provided for us until